Hey there, friends. You've clicked on another episode of the spin-off show here with Anthony, also known as The Jock from the Jock and Nerd podcast. On this particular episode, I have back on independent comic book creator Andrew Guilde. You might recognize that name because he's done a Patreon-only episode for us. But before that, he was on Jock and Nerd number 83, promoting his comic book, Man of Sin, which he got funded by Kickstarter with a little contribution from us and some of our listeners. So thanks for contributing to that. But we talk about Man of Sin now, where he's at now as far as that comic, where he's at in his career as an independent comic book creator. We dive into home ownership. We dive real deep into UFC and mental toughness and MMA in general and wrestling. We talk about his first fight as a professional fighter, a bunch of different topics. He's got another Kickstarter coming up pretty soon here in either April or May, which will be funding more issues of Man of Sin, a graphic novel. We jump into all of that stuff. He's a really good dude. I always enjoy talking to him. Now you're going to check it out. This is the Jock Spin-Off Show. What's up, Andrew? How's it going, buddy?
Good, man. Good. Yourself?
Good. How was your Easter?
It was all right. I went over to my in-laws, and my wife has a pretty big family. Mm-hmm. It's very overwhelming. I have a smaller family, so.
Oh, so going to a big family is a little overwhelming, having to entertain that many people?
Yeah, and it's, it's just, her mom is one of, I think, 6 or 7 girls who had a plethora of children each.
Oh gosh.
So it's a big thing, and now their children are having children, and they're having children, so it's a big to-do.
Well, my parents are the same. Like, my dad has a brother and 2 sisters, and then my mom has 3 brothers, 4 sisters, or 3, I forget. Like, it's so, like, I saw big family parties as well.
Yeah.
I'm used to that.
Yeah, it took a while to get used to, and it's interesting. Like, one of her cousins brought like a girlfriend for like one of the first time, and it's overwhelming if you're not like prepared for
it. If you're new?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like I've been with my wife now for, what is it, 9 years? Mm-hmm. 5 years married and dated for 4, and it's still overwhelming for me. So
yeah, I can only
imagine an outsider. You know, someone first time.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. I was recently at Coachella, mm-hmm. which is, you know what that is, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Out in California, is that?
Out in California, yeah.
Nice.
And it was a bunch of my friends, but then one of my other friends, actually my now ex-girlfriend, who also was my ex-girlfriend on that trip, she brought like her best friend just to tag along, and leading up to the trip, I guess her best friend was kind of nervous. Just because we've known each other for and this is a group of 9 of us, and we've all known each other for 10 years.
Yeah.
So just her coming into a friend group that has known each other that long, it can be pretty intimidating. So
for sure,
being similar situation.
Yeah, being the outsider, everyone kind of knows each other, not know how to take things.
Now you don't know how to navigate that.
For sure. I think that's normal, though. I mean, that shows a sign of someone who's normal.
Yeah, if you're not nervous, I would be like, oh. Why aren't you nervous?
Yeah, you're a sociopath.
Either you're a sociopath or you just don't care how you come off.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
But I'm assuming it went down fine.
Yeah, that was great. It's fine.
Nice.
Yeah, we're all nice people.
How was it, Coachella? I've never been. I hear great things.
It's a trip, man. It's just an interesting place for sure. I enjoy live music and festivals and being around just a bunch of beautiful people. And that's exactly what Coachella is. So it is basically right up my alley. It's a great time. It was one of those festivals that I just had to do, like to knock off. Like I can't say I love going to festivals and not try to go to Coachella. So
now where in California is that?
Indio, California. So that's 20 miles from Palm Springs. So it's east of LA, 2 hours east of LA.
Okay. We for spring break we went to San Diego this year.
Oh, San Diego's fantastic.
Yeah, we stayed right on Mission Beach. We rented we got like little Airbnb right on.
Oh, nice.
Right on the ocean. It was
San Diego is if I were to ever leave Chicago and want to move somewhere, San Diego would be at like the top of my list.
I have no idea why we came back to Chicago.
Well, other than the cost of living.
Yeah. It was weird. Their Starbucks are cheaper than out here.
Is it really?
Yeah, it was a lot cheaper. I want to say the same thing me and my wife get in Chicago. It's like $12 and it was like 8 or 9 in San Diego.
Huh.
So that's a little bit cheaper. But
that is cheaper.
Else,
I mean, I think to buy property is more.
Oh yeah, for sure. Their beer was way more expensive too.
Yeah, how much a beer out there?
Like a craft beer in Chicago is like $9. I want to say, like anywhere between like 6 to 9. I want to say it was like 12 to 14 in San Diego.
Yeah, I've been to San Diego twice, and both times I've thoroughly enjoyed myself, enough to even consider moving out there.
It was a blast. We left. It was a little cold. I didn't realize how cold it would be still. It was like low 60s.
Oh, come on, dude. How are you going to say that and you live in Chicago?
Cold for, I'm going somewhere for spring break.
Oh, gotcha.
Like it was fantastic. I loved it, but it was,
right.
I didn't realize it was like colder then.
Mm-hmm.
And, but awesome time. And then we flew back in and it was snowing in Chicago. I just looked at my wife and I was like, there's no reason why we live here at all whatsoever.
I always think like to myself, why did my family decide to settle on Chicago?
Right.
Like, why couldn't we settled somewhere else? And the thing is, like, I'm such a big like family and friends guy that like my roots are so established here that it's tough for me to ever want to leave. I'm like, if we would have just established roots somewhere else, then I could have never wanted to leave San Diego or something like that.
Right. I will say this though. Summertime in Chicago is one of the best.
The best.
Everyone is so happy. We know it's a short time and like no one wants to fuck it up. Like this is all we
true.
got.
This is true. I mean, there is something to the fact that we don't get this 12 months out of the year.
Mm-hmm.
So that 3-month window that we do get it's the best place in the world because everyone's just ecstatic.
Yes.
And it's a fantastic city in the summer.
Yeah. I will say Chicago probably, I don't travel a ton, but I've been around the block and Chicago might have like the best food, like overall. Like
it's great food.
Yeah. Food. Chicago does it right.
I mean, Chicago has literally everything you could want. It's the third biggest city in the U.S. It has, every sort of food, all different cultural areas, different neighborhoods. I mean, there's literally everything that you could want in a big city in Chicago. The thing that sucks is 9 months out of the year, it's fucking miserable.
That is very true.
The weather just doesn't cooperate for 9 months of the year.
Yeah, I couldn't believe, was it last week? It was like 60 or 70 on the weekend, and then there was a blizzard.
Yeah,
and like it snowed for like 2 or 3 days. I'm like, what the?
I was happy to be in California for that.
Yeah, you lucked out because it sucked.
I want to reacquaint the guest or the listener to who you are. So you debuted on our show, the Jock and Nerd Show, back in March of 2016. So it's been over 3 years.
Yeah, 3 years now. I can't believe it. It seems like it was yesterday.
Right?
Time does fly.
You came on to promote Man of Sin.
Correct.
Which was kickstarting that month and was successfully funded. Mm-hmm. All thanks to us. No, just kidding.
Mostly, you guys were probably a big help. I mean, I'm sure.
We probably helped out a tiny bit. I don't want to take away. It was all you, man. It was all your hustle. But what's been going on since, man. And then you also did a Patreon only episode with me and Imran. I don't even know when that was.
Yeah. How did that do? Did people like it? Did anyone listen to it?
It's tough to. So Patreon doesn't give us numbers on who actually listens.
Okay.
And let me look up real quick. We don't have a ton of people on Patreon. We have a decent enough amount of people that it now it helps fund the show, but it's not enough.
Because I know when you guys were telling me about it, I don't think you had any yet, or you were just starting.
We were just starting it when you came on. Yeah, now we have 56 patrons, which isn't a gigantic number, but I mean that's 56 people that are just donating money to us, which is fantastic.
Yeah, I took a look at it before we got on, and I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, no,
I'm super happy for you guys. I mean, you guys have been rocking out for over
long
3
time.
years now.
Yeah. It's like you said, it feels like yesterday that me and Imran started this thing, and now we're doing stuff for Patreon. We're still doing Jock and Nerd. I'm doing this show. So, there's a bunch of different stuff that's happened since then. But you got Madison launched. I read your little blog about Madison being launched and signing on with a publishing team.
Yeah, actually a literary manager out in Hollywood. So here's what happened. So when you I don't know if anyone knows this. I guess I'll go through the whole Kickstarter thing. I had the first issue of my comic book, Man of Sin. It was created. We sent to a bunch of publishers. Everyone turned us down because we suck. No, they just turned us down. One publisher, actually, one of the editors, reached out to me and was like, hey, I really like your book. It's just not for our company. Like the tone and everything is just not us. And you should go to Kickstarter. So I did my research, ended up going to Kickstarter to publish the first issue because it was already done. So just print it up and get it into people's hands. And it was a great success. We successfully funded it with the help of, I think, 69 or 66. I don't remember the exact number. Backers. So it was awesome.
What was your goal? I forget.
I think it was only 1,500 and we raised.
Oh yeah, that's very, very reasonable.
Yeah, we raised a little bit over 2,000. So it was nice.
That's nice.
Yeah, it was nice. And for like having absolutely no audience whatsoever, the support of people were awesome. But when you do a Kickstarter, like all of a sudden people from like all over will message you and ask you crazy things. Like I had this guy from Russia like message me and was like, I really like your writing. And I'm like, how do you know? You have never even read the comic. It's not released yet. He's like, I want you to write this movie for me. And he's like sending me these YouTube videos of him like singing on a guitar. It was like, and he was like really fucking pushy too. I'm like, dude, I'm not writing your movie. Like, leave me alone.
What the fuck?
Yeah, it was getting intense. Like he was like threatening me and stuff.
What the hell? Really?
Yeah, like
all the way in Russia?
Yeah, like not threatening me, but like you're, missing this opportunity.
Using an aggressive tone.
I'm like, oh, that's going to make me want to do your movie now.
Right.
So there was that. But then a couple smaller publishers reached out to me. It's really interesting. Like people are like, yeah, I really like your book. Let's do something. And then I would send them stuff and then I won't hear it back from them. And it's like, all right, whatever. And so then this literary manager gets in contact with me. And so he's like, I really like this idea. Can you send me this? Here's my credentials. And I looked him up and it was a legit company. They legit had clients. They had a movie that was released. It was on Netflix. They had a couple clients working on movies in the comic book. Like it was like a legit lead. And so long story short, we were going back and forth and I signed with him. Well, when I signed with him, he kind of, I don't want to put it on him, but it was one of those things where it was like, all right, now you got to do it this way because we got to market you in a certain way. You got to do things in a certain way. And so I spent so the Kickstarter ended and I signed on with him. That was like spring 2016. And I spent like the last 2.5 years just working with this guy for bringing some of my ideas to Hollywood. One of them being Man of Sin. Like we turned it into like this TV show, like doing spec scripts. And
oh, wow. So this was all to get on TV or something. I thought it was just to write more comics or stories.
No. So like so here's what he saw. Like he didn't tell me this, but like, this is what I took from him. He saw me and he's like, wow, this is an undiscovered, like young Robert Kirkman. Like he could get his foot into the comic book world and also do screenplays and write, do TV shows. So like Robert Kirkman with The Walking Dead, I think he saw me in that direction.
I mean, everyone's looking for someone like that, right?
I
get their teeth into real quick and be like, this is my next Trojan horse to get on everything. Yeah.
He saw me on that. Like, I think that's what he saw in me, which is really cool. Like being first time out, someone who's established in Hollywood and is actually doing Hollywood stuff. And I went to school for creative writing with a concentration in screenplay. So I know how to do it. That's in my background. So it wasn't like so far off that I couldn't write scripts, or screenplays. So I dived right in for 2 full years and it was really cool. I learned a lot, but absolutely nothing came out of that.
Jeez.
Yeah, absolutely nothing.
Were you getting paid?
No.
Wow.
So everything was on. So like, I didn't even get one thing. Like he didn't even approve one thing to send out. Like he didn't send one thing out. Wow. I kept sending him stuff and like he would want it to be tweaked this way or tweaked that way. And it was just pretty much 2 years of me just developing stuff.
Jeez.
Yeah, it was. It took a lot out of me.
Would you have ever gotten money if it went out?
Yeah.
Like, how does that work?
Well, so here's how a manager works. So they a literary manager and a literary agent are kind of two different things. An agent does the deals. A manager packages your ideas to sell.
Okay.
So once he had the package, like, all right, we have the spec script and the, all the trimmings and everything around it to give to a studio, then we would find an agent who would want to work with us to broker the deal.
Mm.
And
that's how you get money.
So he would take, if the deal went through, my manager would take 15%, and whatever the agent that I didn't have yet would take some percent, and then I would get the rest on some sort of spec deal. And then for him, he really wanted me to get into like staff writing, like for like The Walking Dead or something like that, in which he would get paid. Like staff writers, I believe, don't quote me on this, it's like $4,000 a week or something like that. So he would get 15% of that. Mm-hmm. And as my manager, like, he does all the collecting of the money. So he would go out and like say, my book got picked up by Image, or he brokered a deal with, Dark Horse. They would send him the money, not me. And I would get paid through him, and he would do all that stuff.
So you have to really trust him though, then, or you'd have to get all this in writing.
Yeah, there was a lot of back and forth. There was a long contract. I thought I dotted my I's and crossed my T's, but nothing came out of it. So there's
2 years. So then, like, after 2 years, did he just let you go, or you were just both of you mutually agree? This
It was just, we were slowly fading, like our talking, like we would talk. It started like we would talk almost every day, and then slowly over time, as those relationships, a lot of it too was me, because I was just getting frustrated and just tired, just sitting at my computer, rewriting stuff that I didn't really believe in. Like, it was, he would take my ideas, and I think I don't want to put this on him, because I think he's a wonderful manager and probably is really good at his job. But like, it would be my ideas, but he would put his spin on it. And then I would find myself like sitting at my desk trying to write through his idea, like through his
lens. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it was just really draining. And so like, when I would get stuff to him, would start slowly increasing in time. So instead of getting to him in a week, it would be 3 weeks, and then a month, and then yada yada. And so last time I talked to him, I think technically I'm probably still under contract with him.
Oh, wow.
We never officially parted ways. But the last time I talked to him, it was kind of like, yeah, I'm just going to go do this. And he was like, well, his last thing he told me is like, I'll leave the light on for you if you have anything you want to send my way. And that was about it.
Jeez.
So I just took it. I took it upon myself to be like, all right, I'm going to just go do what I wanted to do in the first place after this 2-year detour.
I remember reading in your blog, aguilde.com, right? Mm-hmm. You put it as something along the lines of, and I'm trying to remember this correctly, but it was like a relationship where everything seems to be on paper like this should be awesome, and yet it's just not working. That kind of spoke to me, because I was recently in a relationship like that where everything on paper, not a writing relationship, right, yeah, a romantic one, where I was in one where I was like, everything on paper, it should be like awesome, and yet it's just not working.
Yeah,
and then every day is like even more arduous and more of like, okay, what am I doing? How should I be pleasing this other person on the other side? I should be now thinking like them so that they don't get upset about this. And it's like, wait a minute, I'm now not becoming myself anymore. Like
that was 100% how I felt. I mean, yeah. I'm glad it resonated with you, because
that line resonated just because it was so recent that this relationship happened. I was like, oh man, that's exactly how that must have felt.
Yeah, and that's what it felt like. So as a new writer, like just getting in, like you're nervous. All you have is fear. You don't even know if you're good enough. You don't even know. All the publishers turned you down. Mm-hmm. I'm just going out to Kickstarter just to get my book out into the world. I just want people to read it. Like I am literally brand new into this. And then you always want that. I want to be a professional. You always want to, but you still think you're an amateur, especially at that level. And then a guy who works with professionals, like the new hot girl right? That the senior hot girl when you're in high school comes and says, "Hey, I like you." You're like, "Oh my God, like this should be amazing. This is everything I want." And he was like signing my name. And I think I wrote about, I think I said this, I wrote this or some version of it he was the physical manifestation of the worth that I was looking for outside in the outside world. Does that make sense?
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely.
And so it was like, all right, I am good enough. I am this and I am that. And then when we got together, I would share my ideas with him and where I wanted to go with the series. And it was like, oh no, we were going to take it this way. Like one of the big reasons why, and to like all my Kickstarter backers, one of the reasons why I went cold was because, well, you can't do all. It was one of those things where like, I don't want you to do too much because you're going to ruin the future sales. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so that was like, I was like in a weird, I was kind of caught. Like, all right, I just got all of these fans, but now I can't like
deliver.
Yeah, I delivered on my end, like what I promised them, but now I can't go further and build on that platform, right? Like, all right, now out of these 66, let's turn these 66 into 100 and let's keep moving. Like that was my original goal, like build a grassroots foundation of fans that like my writing for me. And when I signed this, I thought this would be great. Like, all right, you guys helped me get to Hollywood. Now this thing now became a TV show or a movie or whatever. And nothing transpired. So it was almost like 2 years of just dead work. Did
you end up delivering everything you promised to your fans like right away?
Yes. I mean, that was my number one. That was another thing. He wanted like to redo pages and like add pages. And I'm like, dude, that's not how this works.
Right.
It was one of those things where like, I don't think he understood what Kickstarter was.
Yeah. The reason I ask is we had another Kickstarter that Jock and Nerd supported. Great guys. But they ended up getting funded, and then we didn't get the fucking book that they promised us for like 3 years.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah, man. I was at one point, like maybe like 2 years in, I wrote this guy, and I was like, "Hey, man, like, you better either give us this book or give me back my money." And he was like super apologetic and wanted to like he was like, "I'll give you back your money. I'll send you the book for free." I'm like, "Just keep the money. Just send me the fucking book." Like, right. I don't even want the book. It's like I wasn't even supporting the book because I wanted to read the book. I was just supporting the guy.
Right.
And just out of principle, I'm like, "Send me the fucking book, man." And then he wanted to like come on Jock and Nerd and explain the situation. I'm like, "No, man." Like Imran was all about like, "Yeah, let's do it." I'm like, "Fuck no." Like, Imran's the nicest guy ever, so I can't fault him. But I'm like, "Fuck no, we're not giving this guy a platform after like." Right. He goes on to comes on our show, uses our base to rally like a Kickstarter, and then doesn't deliver for like 3 years. I'm like, dude, no, wow. No one. You don't get any press. You don't get any. There's no coming back. You go away.
My number one goal besides like getting funded and fanned was to deliver an awesome book.
Yeah,
and like the people who've seen the book and seen, I'm really lucky. Like the artist Camilo Ponce is amazing.
Yeah, that was great. He was a great artist.
I mean, he
is a great artist.
Yeah, he's phenomenal. And so like,
isn't he down in South America?
Yeah, he's in Chile. Yeah. I've actually never actually.
Yeah, that's right. I remember talking about this.
Yeah, I've never physically met him, and I've never even verbally spoken to him. It's all been like on emails or Facebook Messenger. But we've been working together for like 5 years now. That's awesome. Like even in that time, Camilo was like, so he finished book 2 in that time. So we sent book 2 out to all the fans as a digital copy. So in this time, like I'm working with this this literary manager, a small publisher called Insane Comics. Have you ever heard of them?
Insane. No, I'm not all that familiar with the.
So yeah, so they were an indie company. They're actually an indie company out of Rockford, Illinois.
Oh, nice.
And they were doing really good stuff, and they offered us a publishing deal with them, and I really liked it because he was from Illinois. He was close. And so then they republished issue 1 and published issue 2 for the first time ever. And this was last year. So issue 1 came out, I want to say, in February, and issue 2 in March. And I actually got, I was a featured guest for their booth at C2E2 last year. I was like signing autographs and stuff for fans. Yeah,
what's that like?
Oh, dude, it was surreal.
Yeah.
I got to send you the picture. There's a picture of me. And this guy was dressed up in a full Oogie Boogie costume from Nightmare Before Christmas.
And getting your autograph?
Yeah, it was. So let me tell you this. This was the craziest thing. Like, I am not a celebrity in the least bit.
No, right.
Like, I am the, like, triple Z. Like, no one should know me.
Yes.
Right? And have you ever been to C2E2?
One time, yeah.
So you know how, like, one of the food courts is, like, upstairs on, like, that pillar?
Yeah.
So our booth was kind of was like on like the end aisle, looking like you could look up and see the food court. And so I'm standing there greeting people, saying hi, you know, whatever. And I see this guy and he's like eating food and locks eyes with me, stops eating, leaves his food up there, runs downstairs, runs up to me, shakes my hand. He's like, "Oh my God, I'm a huge fan of your book. And I came here just for you."
What the fuck?
And I was like, not starstruck, but like just taken back. I'm like,
yeah.
Are you kidding me? He's like, "Yes, I've been following your book. I'm a big fan of the artist on Instagram." And he bought both the books. We signed it. I got a picture with him. It was just a really cool experience.
That's crazy.
Like, dude, I would have been here all day. You could have finished eating. Like, you better get back up to your food before it gets thrown out, man. If you want to come talk. And so it was really cool to see, like, even if I had one person like that, that's why I started this, not to do the whole Hollywood thing.
Right.
And sometimes it's like, you know that TLC song, "Don't Go Chasing Waterfalls"?
Yep.
Like, I really think I went and chased a waterfall. I should have stayed like in my lane for a little bit.
But you don't know what you don't know until you do it, right?
Yeah. And it was a good experience. I really think he's good at what he does. I really do. But he wasn't good for me. Like, he would give me, my literary manager would give me examples or things. And
by the way, you're using an Apple earbud, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think your mic keeps hitting, like, it keeps hitting your shirt. Just
sorry.
It's all.
I'll lean forward.
Yeah. There you go.
So it was one of those things where he would give me like advice or examples or like, it should be like this. And it was like a taste that wasn't my taste. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so I was like, all right, well, I think that shit's stupid. So I don't know why I'm going to do it that way, but here we go.
I mean, everything you're saying is resonating with me just because I'm equating it to the relationship I was in.
Yeah.
Where, like, again, like, I remember getting into this relationship with this girl, and I'd known this girl for a long time, and I go, like, she'd been with someone else, and then she finally got a free, and I'd been, like, dating other girls, but I was like, every date that I've been on, every time I've approached a girl has led me to this moment where I can get this girl.
Right.
Like, it's all paying off.
Right, for sure.
And then you get in and you're like, yes, this is awesome. And then again, like you said, it's just, it doesn't work for whatever reason.
And I'm sure when you're in it, you're like, all right, maybe it's me. Like, maybe I'm the one. Like, everything about this is what I want. But then you're like, no, this mix just doesn't work.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there were times where I was like, is it me? Like, am I just an asshole?
That's what I thought. Like, I'm like, man, I'm not good enough.
Right.
Like, man, I do suck. But then I was like, you know what? Like, all of the things that I sent, I could now use. Like, it wasn't totally wasted.
Right.
I could use it later on.
What I also had to get away from, and I'm sure you've probably felt the same way in that relationship, is like, I didn't want to. There were times where I'm like, oh, she sucks. Like, she sucks. Like, there's something wrong with her. Mm-hmm. I'm like, wait, it's not like, just like how you're saying, like, I'm sure the guy is a great manager. Like, and I don't want to blame this all. Like, I don't want to be like, oh, this was all her fault either. Like, there's a little bit like that was her fault, and there's probably a little bit that was my fault, and it just didn't work. Like, we put this chemical mixture together and just exploded. It didn't we didn't create a new element here.
Yeah, I think, just being older now, like, that wasn't too long ago, but like being older and having perspective, I think right away when I noticed, when you start thinking that, it's already too late.
It's
already over. Just like, this isn't working. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
oh yeah.
Like, I've been with my wife now for 9 years, and I've never thought that. Like,
that's great.
We work together. She's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I have a great wife. And like, I remember sitting at a bar with my younger brother, and I was telling him kind of this same crisis I have. Like, it was one of those things where I was like, I want to leave him, but then I feel like a failure if I leave him. Like, literally like a girlfriend. Right. And he was like, dude, he needs you. Like, he doesn't make any money unless you make money. Like, there's a million of him out there. There's only one of you. Mm-hmm. If it's not working for you, just go. Like, this is my younger brother talking to me. Like, he even said that, and I stayed like another year, like a horrible relationship, because, I was so like thick-headed, like, and that's a little like personality, I guess, like flaw of mine is that like I'm really competitive, especially with myself.
Right.
Like I really feel like I could do anything if I work hard enough, even if I fail. Like I'm not afraid of failure. I'm afraid of giving up.
That's funny that you say that, because I was kind of the same way in this relationship. Like whenever like we were like thinking about ending it, or she would want to bring up like ending it, I'd be like, well, you're just quitting. Like that I kept saying like over and over, I'm like, you're just quitting. Like, and I would say the same, like even when I would be like, well, should I end it? I'm like, but then you're quitting. Right. Like I, for whatever reason, like quitting for me was a bad, like being a wrestler growing up. Well, not growing up. I only did it for 2 years, but I remember being in wrestling and wanting to quit every week and being like, but you can't quit. Like that was always my mindset. Like you can't, like, even now I do CrossFit and I suck at it. I'm fucking terrible, but I'm like, I can't quit. Like now I'm doing this. I'm just going to keep doing it.
That's one thing. Like when you said like as a wrestler, and I've wrestled a good portion of my life now. And that's one thing that I have that I know my brothers don't have. And I know a lot of the general public don't have, that you learn from that sport if you spend any time with it.
Oh yeah.
Is that getting through the bad, because you know it's going to be better on the other side.
Right.
Like you get 100% of it, you know, you get 100% out of it, what you put in. And the not quitting thing is just something that's so ingrained in me.
Definitely.
And it's helped me in my professional life. And, you know, and it was just one of those things that I think I needed to take a step back. It's like, all right, you're not quitting. You're just making a good decision.
Right, right. Yeah, there's a difference between quitting and actually just being smart about your life. I mean, that was one of the big things that wrestling imprinted on me, was just not quitting. Like, you're going to have to you're going to have to tell me to go. I'm not going to go.
Right.
but that stubbornness also can lead to, you know, staying in things way too long and not taking a step back and going, is this the right relationship, or is this the right thing for me?
Right. And 100%. And, you know, it's good, I think, to have perspective. I know if like I got approached again, I think I would do more feeling out before I signed my name on the dotted line. And I, you know, and I also didn't know kind of like what I could or couldn't like not get away with, but could do. So like signing that deal with Insane Comics, like I had to ask permission, like, and I was like super scared about it, because like I didn't want to lose the publishing, but I also didn't want to like not upset my manager, but like have him like broker the deal and me lose 15% of nothing because it's an indie studio. Right. And so it was like one of those things, like I was walking on eggshells the whole time, because I wasn't fully aware of my rights as like as an artist, that I, you know, I've done my homeworks, and I did my homework before, but I just, one of those things just being so new. It's just like you're navigating a world you've never navigated before. So
what's up now? What are you trying to do?
Well, unfortunately, Insane Comics closed their doors in July before issue 3 and 4 could come out. So, perfect timing. Me and Camilla were able to kind of get on the same schedule, because in that 2-year hiatus, you know, Camilla just kept working and doing other stuff and getting more work, and he still wanted to be a part of the project, but our schedules didn't line up. And so now they lined up, and now we're going to go back to Kickstarter where it all started. And, we're going to release the graphic novel version, collecting issues 1 through 4. So the released issue 1 and 2 and the previously unreleased 3 and 4 in a beautiful graphic novel. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be sweet. I got a couple guest artists to come on and contribute to, some of the rewards. And so it's going to be awesome. I think the fans of Man of Sin and new fans are going to love it.
Do you make any money off of Kickstarter, or is it all just goes right back into the comic?
I have not made a dime.
You have not. So this is all just passion project. Yeah,
this is all just passion. Like, I have not made anything. If anything, I've lost money. Hopefully my wife doesn't hear that or listens to this.
You don't have to disclose. I mean, what's a couple dollars, you know,
right.
Whatever,
you know. So, I mean, I'm a firm believer on, paying the artists what they're worth. They're bringing stuff that's in my mind to life.
Right.
I know a lot of writers are like, well, I'm not making any money, so they're not. And I don't prescribe to that. They're doing something that I could never do. And I really respect every artist that I've worked with. I've never had a problem, you know, agreeing to terms with, you know, with any artist. I see their worth. I know what artists are worth. And so there's that aspect, paying the artists for their work, and then there's the production and everything. And so I try to keep my Kickstarter goals as low as possible, just to break even on the production and getting it to fans, and making the best product and paying the artists. Where I'm not making anything. What I'm making is I'm making fans. I'm going forward in my creative career. That's what I'm doing this for. I'm not doing it for a paycheck. I have a great job. So it's not like I'm not wealthy by any means, but I'm not struggling either.
That's good. And now you have since we last spoke, you moved out to the suburbs.
I did,
of Chicago.
For sure. Yeah.
You're a homeowner?
I am. Yeah.
Congrats, man.
Thanks, man. It's pretty wild. I do not know how to do a goddamn thing. I am completely and utterly useless. And so that is not good when you own a home, because there is nothing but shit to fix.
I was going to say, I'm like, the American ideal is, you own your own condo or your own home. And as I've gotten older and used to either living with other people or living in renting, home ownership for me, man, is scary. I was like, I don't want to fucking have to deal with when the AC isn't working. I have to figure that out and foot the bill. Oh my God.
Fuck that, man. I mean, if it wasn't for my wife, I would still be renting. I mean, if it wasn't for my wife, I would be a derelict somewhere. Like, I'd probably be in California, No, I read an article, I want to say recently, where the younger generation, they're more into renting. Like, buying homes is not kind of on their radar.
I could see that. I mean, I'm not in any position to want to buy a home right now, so I can sympathize with that.
And one of the things they're saying that being able to be mobile and move, is more valued than laying roots.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that, and I have that same mindset, even though I've laid roots here. Like, I've never lived anywhere else other than Urbana-Champaign for college, but. Yeah, I think the big thing besides this, the money aspect of having to foot all the bills, is like, what if I wanted to leave? Like, I can't do that if I own, or I can, but it's a little bit more. I have to jump through a few more hoops to get out of that home ownership or lease or something like that. Like, I'd rather just be able to, if I need to move, I can just move.
Yeah, I know if it wasn't for my wife, I would be renting somewhere, and I wouldn't. I don't know if I would come back out to the suburbs. I'd probably still be in the city.
Where were you living in the city?
We lived everywhere, but the last place we lived was in Roscoe Village.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was. I loved that Roscoe Village place. It was nice. It was close to everything that it needed to be close to, because we were getting, we were your age, a little bit older, so we're not, going out as much. Right. But it was still close enough to where it was just a quick Uber ride or walk down the street, and we could.
Roscoe's nice. I like Roscoe Village. Yeah.
We lived everywhere: Roscoe Village, Ukrainian Village, Bucktown, Wicker Park.
Yeah, I like Bucktown a lot.
Yeah, North Avenue. I like Diversity. Diversity is a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's all. I mean, it's all. But now you're in what, Lombard?
Yeah. Yep.
Lombard.
Yes.
Suburban life is different, man.
It is. Yeah.
But I still see, even though I've lived in the city, or I live in the city. I still have that suburban mindset. Like, because I grew up in the city until I was 14 or 13, maybe 12 or 13, somewhere around there, and then I moved out to the suburbs. But I didn't start I was like my father in that I like to drive everywhere. I don't like public transportation. So even living in the city, I still, if I'm not taking Uber, I personally just drive. I don't take public transportation at all.
Now, I want to say we very rarely took public transportation. We Ubered everywhere when we lived in the city, or walked.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the one biggest thing. It's like, well, what do you
suburbs is definitely you have to drive.
Oh yeah, no, between we would say all right, who's driving tonight? Who's taking the bullet? Or we would just Uber if neither of us wanted to take the bullet. Mm-hmm. But I just remember walking out of our house, what do you want to do tonight? I don't know. Let's turn left and see what happens. Mm-hmm. We would do that all the time. It was.
You can't do that in the suburbs.
No, there's far less to do. Far less to do.
You don't walk out of your house and go, let's walk this way and see what happens.
Right.
You're just going to walk past a lot more houses that look like yours.
For sure. And that's one thing I thought was interesting too. Like we always lived in like apartment buildings and stuff. Mm-hmm. And we were never like super close to our neighbors. Mm-hmm. And maybe this is like a good trait of our neighborhood, but like we get like, I'm friends with my neighbors now. Like that's a thing. Like I never knew anyone in any of my apartment buildings.
That's freaking hilarious, dude. I've noticed the same thing. I don't know. Obviously I don't own homes, but like when I was in the burbs, like I knew all the neighbors.
Yeah.
But like living in closer quarters in an apartment, you might just like give a little head nod to your neighbor, but other than that, you don't really hang out with your neighbor.
Yeah, I think that's weird, right? Like
it's strange.
You're almost on top of each other, like proximity wise,
right?
And like,
and you basically see each other multiple times during the week.
You want nothing to do with them. Maybe because you're so close, you're like, I need to have this space.
Right.
This is all I got.
I think that definitely like you're so close to one another that you're like, when I'm in my space, this is my space. Mm-hmm. You know, I don't want to like. It's almost as if you get to your home and you're like, I'm done. Like, I'm on top of everybody. I'm just one. Like, this is my little area. Whereas when you're in the burbs, you're like, this is my home, but like this is our community. Like we have a nice little neighborhood right here now.
That's exactly.
We all have to watch out for the neighborhood.
Yeah, you hit it right on the head for sure.
Like there's no fucking like watching out for each other in Chicago.
No. I mean, if anything, I hated most of my neighbors. Like my wife would always, at the one apartment we had in Lakeview, if anyone used the shower first, they would be the ones to get the hot water. And so she was on the same like schedule as this other woman, and the woman would always beat her no matter what my wife would do. So my wife was like constantly taking cold showers, and like she was like our arch nemesis.
Just because the shower,
right?
Well, first off, that's a shitty building you were living in.
Oh, it was a shithole. I mean, it was Lakeview. It was nice for the area, but it was a shitty. We were in our 20s.
Yeah,
it was. Who cared?
Right. You were living in Lakeview at that point.
Right. I mean, who cared?
Lakeview's awesome. Otherwise,
yeah,
just the amount of things to do.
Yeah, I mean, I love the city, but it's weird. Like, we would like go back and like now since living in the burbs and like try to like do what we used to do. I'm like, what are we doing? Like, this is madness. Like, you mean to tell me I'm going to get up at noon and start drinking mimosas before I even start drinking?
Yeah.
It's different.
I like both. I mean, I've lived enough in both areas to like say that I legitimately like both. But yeah, man, when living in the city and like Sunday fun days or Saturday, like those are awesome. I still enjoy them, but I'm just like, man, it's rough.
I mean, I want to say like there was a point where we were like Thursday night we would go out and we wouldn't stop going out until like Sunday night, like midday. And not like crazy party, but like, Thursday night there was a special somewhere, we would do something, and then there was a special somewhere on Friday, and there's if you know what your way around Chicago, there's specials everywhere.
There's specials everywhere, yeah.
Yeah. And there's always something to do.
Well, funny, like you mentioned going out. When I was out in California, we went out Thursday, and then we did the 3-day festival, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Traveled back Monday. I didn't get home till Tuesday morning, like 12:30 a.m. And I'm literally, as of yesterday, was like finally feeling like myself again.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Like the recovery period takes a while now. As we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, that's a bad one.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't even that I was hungover or anything, because I wasn't. It was just that like my body was so tired.
Oh yeah, for sure. You were probably just going nonstop,
Just go and like I just needed sleep. And I even took a day off of work, and I still was just mentally and like physically and mentally just super exhausted.
I've been there, man. I hear you.
And there's one thing that you brought up in your email that I wanted to definitely talk to you about, because I don't get many opportunities to talk like this about this particular topic. So you're still watching MMA?
Oh yeah, huge fan.
Huge, like how big?
I mean, I watch it almost every pay-per-view. Every
pay-per-view
I can.
Did you watch yesterday's fight night?
I did not. I did not watch yesterday.
Do you subscribe to ESPN Plus?
They got me.
They got you?
I got.
I haven't jumped on the ESPN Plus thing yet. Eventually I probably will, but I haven't done it just yet.
So couple things. So,
but they put all the pay-per-views on there now too.
Yeah,
that makes it
bullshit.
Which is a fucking mafia racket thing.
Yeah, that's bullshit in and of itself. But like my wife, if I wasn't married to my wife, there's a lot of things I would do different. But one of them would be like I would just stream that shit illegally.
Yeah,
not think twice about it. She is so worried about anything happening. She's like, just get the subscription. And so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get the subscription. I could get this for free, right?
Right.
And so
Reddit has a million links.
Yeah, I'm sure if I look anywhere,
I don't actually do that. I don't have a Mac or anything. So like, if I were to illegally do that, I'm sure I would get so many fucking viruses on this computer that it would just be over. So I just choose not to purchase it. But I'll say my fandom is still is high in terms of I still follow it, but I don't follow it as intensely as I used to, just because of the fact that it's like more than half the events now are behind a paywall. Yeah,
I mean, so that sucks. So when I got the ESPN Plus deal, the Gastelum, this last pay-per-view, the Gastelum Adesanya, yeah. I was trying to order it, and they got flooded with so many people trying to order it. I missed the first fight.
Really? That was that bad? I heard there was a lot of issues with ESPN
man, I was freaking out. And at first, I was like, fuck this. Fuck them, and fuck UFC, and fuck ESPN, and fuck Disney. Like, I was just so pissed, because I'm a big fan. I really like it. And finally, I was like, fine, I'll do it one more time. And sure enough, that last time, it went through. And it was just everyone was pressing go at the same time, yeah. And so I got it, and it was an awesome card. Did you happen to see the card?
I only saw the last two fights, so...
That's all you need to see.
Yeah, that was all I need to see.
Can you give me 2 seconds? I need to get some water.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. Sorry, man.
Oh, all good. Get that water. Water is important. I actually just finished my water bottle, so I'm going to be dehydrated for the rest of this show. If you're listening, you can just hit like that 15-second skipper. Just keep hitting it over and over and over until you hear Andrew Guilde start talking again. He's back. Is he back?
Yeah, sorry about that.
There he is.
Sorry about that.
I was just talking and telling the listener to just hit that 15-second skip button until they hear your voice.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I got a fucked up. I got a fucked up back. I got a pinched nerve in my neck. So I'm on
jeez.
Bunch of medication. One of it's drying my throat out like a motherfucker.
Ugh.
From years of wrestling.
Yeah, wrestling. That's the thing I'm happy that I didn't wrestle for years for, because I know my neck and shoulders would be just all jacked up.
Yeah, well, this was, I got stingers a lot. Like, not a lot. A lot's probably the wrong word, but I would get stingers, not regularly, but occasionally. Mm-hmm. And then I was just wrestling around in the off season with one of my wrestlers, and I threw him, and I just landed funny, and my whole right side of my arm was on fire. I thought I dislocated my shoulder because I couldn't move it. Finally, I got the feeling back, and I could move it, but I couldn't turn my neck. My back was all messed up. And so I went to the doctor and everything. Like, yeah, you're pretty messed up, man. You're in your 30s. You shouldn't be tossing kids anymore.
And yet you see like these UFC fighters that are in their 30s and 40s still going at it.
They never stopped. You know what I'm saying? And they're probably all banged up. That's why most of them are on some sort of
PED.
It's not for the... I honestly don't think it's for...
I think a lot of it's for recovery. Yeah, I agree.
I think a lot of it's for recovery. Just
although what TJ Dillashaw on was not for recovery.
I honestly think that that's what saved him in the Cody fight.
Oh yeah, the EPO.
Yeah, well, it helps you recover, right? And so
I guess it does help you recover. From what I understand, a lot of cyclists use it. Mm-hmm. It's for your lungs, for your but your stamina. You can go forever.
Right,
and that was a big part of his fighting style.
Right, he would just outpace guys.
He could just outpace everybody. Yeah,
right. I mean,
he could just keep moving the entire fight. Like that's how he just beat up like Renan Barão when he first won the title.
Right.
He just was like, he never stopped moving and throwing combinations at this guy.
That's what I've always wondered, like that, like just stylistically, like I would see guys, even like as a competitor myself, that like would never get tired. Mm-hmm. I'm like, Jesus Christ, like I work out just as much as you guys. How are you guys not tired?
See, I cannot even relate to it. So my whole thing when I was on the mat was that first 2 minutes, either I was winning or I was going to lose. Like if you got me out of that first 2 minutes, I was like,
you knew right away.
I knew right away. Like I just, for whatever reason, I've always had really bad stamina in every sport I've ever played. Like I'm much more of an explosive athlete than a long long-term distance, any of that stuff. So
you know what's interesting, when I was in high school, I had awful cardio. And I worked out all the time. I was I tried to get in the best shape as possible, but I lived in both my mother and my stepfather both smoked in the house. And as soon as I got out of the house and went to college and started living on my own, my endurance just increased tenfold. And I think a lot of my problems in high school had to do with that secondhand smoke.
That's 100% probably a factor. My theory on why my cardio isn't good, other than maybe genetics, is I actually think I might have like sleep apnea, and I'm not getting the right amount of sleep every night because I've slept around people and they go, man, like sometimes it seems like you're like having trouble breathing. I'm like, oh God.
that can't be good. There's nothing good coming of that.
But I don't have all the, I do snore, but I don't have all the symptoms. I don't feel tired all the time unless I get like 6 hours of sleep. Then I feel tired. So I don't know. One of these days I have to get it checked out. But anyway, I digress. I don't want to talk about my sleep apnea.
Yeah. So you saw the two fights. I did. They were
fantastic.
I thought that Gastelum Adesanya, is that how you say his name? I've always called
Israel Adesanya. Yeah.
Adesanya, yeah. That might have been one of the best fights I've ever seen.
Oh, it's great.
Like ESPN Plus probably couldn't have asked for two better fights back to back to sell their subscription.
Oh yeah, if they're looking to sell pay-per-views through that was a fantastic way to start off.
I mean, it was awesome. I mean, what did you think of the fight?
Oh, I thought it was great. I mean, I was surprised. I thought Israel Adesanya was just going to have his way with Kelvin Gastelum. I think Kelvin Gastelum's a really good fighter, but I just physically the both of them, I just thought Israel Adesanya was just going to destroy him. So I was surprised that Gastelum was able to like stay in the fight and hurt him a few times. But yeah, I mean, it was just one of those fights where it's one of the best fights you'll ever see. It was just a back and forth war between two guys that were two of the best in the world. So I mean, I've been really hyped about Adesanya for this past year, and it was nice to see him kind of tested, but then also kind of like that fifth round was just the stuff of like warriors, just the way he pulled that out. And I remember listening to him after, and he was basically like, yeah, I was willing to die in there. Like, he's like, if I want to be like, he's like, I was willing to kill that man, and if I'm willing to kill that man, I also have to be ready to die in there. And I was like, man, that's fucking crazy.
That's a whole nother level.
That's like I've never thought in competition like, man, I'm willing to die for this. Like,
nope.
Like that's just another level
I want to do. Like, I enjoy the competition. I enjoy, physical I'm wrestling coach.
Right.
Enjoy the whole physicality, but I'm not willing to die for that shit. Well, that's why he's a world champion.
Right. That's why he's. I mean, I think there's like different. I have a theory on like different people in MMA. There's like athletes that get into it, right? Mm-hmm. Like just straight athlete, like they just want the competition. But then there's also people that like are legitimately true fighters that like have that mindset. Like, no, I will fucking die. Like, well, this is I'm here to kill. Like there's two different like types of people I think that get into MMA, and then there's people that have a little combination of both, like where they're amazing athletes and fighters.
I think on that, like a Conor McGregor is maybe a little bit of both, but tends more on the athlete side. Whereas a guy like Khabib is a fighter. Like Khabib would be willing to go to some deep waters.
Well, Khabib's just been. He grew up in fucking Dagestan, Russia, which is a rough place to grow up. I mean, there's videos of him online. I don't know have you seen these where his dad has him wrestling like a baby bear.
I've heard that. I've never seen it.
It's real. Yeah. Oh, it's real. It's him as a little boy wrestling with like a little bear.
I want to know, like as a dad, when you're like, you know what, he's 6. It's time to wrestle the bear. Like what? Like
where do you find the bear?
Right. Like I want to know like how that's like a part of your day. Like I don't think the words ever ever will come out of my mouth. Like, you know what, son? Today you're going to wrestle a bear. Like, what?
Well, Khabib is, I mean, he's just been trained from, like, he's lived his entire life to be an athlete, to be a fighter.
I thought that fight that Conor fought him, his whole game plan didn't make sense to me.
Conor's?
Yeah.
In what way?
It looked like usually he comes out in like the first round or two and he's looking to knock you out.
Mm-hmm.
And it looked like he was throttling back and was willing to concede ground to Khabib. And I think he was worried about going deep with him, which didn't make any sense because once Khabib gets on top of you, he's like a steel blanket.
Right.
And so, I don't know, it didn't seem...
He admitted to that afterwards that he might have had the wrong idea. But what I think he was trying to do was Connors was very, very concerned about the fact that, yeah, like you said, to go deep in this fight, because we've seen him in fights where he just fades, right? Like he fades. So I think what he was trying to do was he didn't want to expend a ton of energy to start because he knows he's going to fade. So I think he was just trying to conserve energy. So he was kind of laying back and like waiting for Khabib, and he was almost conceding to Khabib like the first round or two, hoping that like, okay, now like we'll grapple a little bit, but like nothing will happen. We'll both be fresh. Like it'll tire us out, and then later on I'll have conserved enough energy where when he's a little tired too to then knock him out. But yeah, I mean I agree. I think that was I
think that's a poor coaching.
Yeah, I think that was a very poor tactic.
I mean, Khabib doesn't get tired.
No.
And so it's like, okay, so you're waiting for him to get tired, which doesn't happen. Like, at what point, like, show me a fight where he got tired. Now, maybe the Quinta fight.
Quinta, yeah.
Where it went all 5, like, maybe that showed him something. Like, all right, I have more power. Maybe he thought, well, I have more power I'm a better fighter than Al. So if I could conserve it till the 4th and 5th. But I just think that's not who you are.
Yeah, it was one of those things where, yeah, he wasn't fighting to his fighting to his strengths for sure. I mean, I think Conor can beat Khabib, but I think that matchup, I would say maybe 75% of the time is going to favor Khabib.
Oh yeah, he's a horrible matchup.
He's not a great matchup for Conor McGregor.
No, I actually thought he would do better than he did just because of what Conor did to Chad Mendes, who I thought was a similar test. You know, like, go out there, you heavy wrestler.
The thing about Chad, though, is Chad is more of this kind of like explosive takedowns.
Yes, much different.
Whereas Khabib is this chain, like he just needs to grab a hold of you, and then he's just going to fucking chain wrestle you down, and then like just work his jiu-jitsu and sambo. Like he's the type of guy that's just like he's that wrestler that like lets you like will tech fault you.
Yes, and you don't even know what he did.
Right.
You're like, I don't even know what happened here.
Like he like just dominates you so much positionally, and like as you're getting up, he lets you like kind of like feel like you're getting up, and he like that's the worst feeling in the world when you're getting up and then the guy drags you right back down. You got to work all over again.
There's nothing more. I tell all my young wrestlers that I was like, psychologically, there's 2 things that are going to happen. If you just get taken down right away and you get right back up like nothing happened and you're back in that guy's face.
Oh, that's the worst too.
That guy is like, oh my God, I just took him down and he's not stopping. Why? Right. And then the other is if you take a guy down and he tries to get back up, you put him back down.
Right.
Psychologically, he's like, oh man, this guy's for real.
I got to tell you, that's so funny because those are the 2 things that would rattle me right off the bat. If I took someone down and they got back up right away, I'd be like, fucking hell.
Like, oh man. Yeah, this guy knows how to wrestle.
Right. But then there was also when I would be trying to get back up and I like worked so hard to get back up and the guy easily takes me down. I'm like, oh my God, I think this guy's playing with me now.
Yeah. And it's a normal reaction, right? Like you're I mean, what is wrestling, aside from MMA, it's like you're teaching other people how to hold someone down against their will.
Right.
And so if that's what the sport is, when you're not able to do that or you're able to do that and not hold them down, psychologically, there's big things you have to overcome. And I work with my wrestlers a lot about that, just staying in the mindset and staying focused. One thing, I don't know if your coaches ever did this, but I've heard it a lot. It's like you need to be mentally tough. You ever heard that before?
Oh, yeah. All the time.
And I think that's a really horrible phrase. Not only is it ambiguous, right? Like being,
what does that mean? Mentally tough.
Like being mentally tough. But the connotations of it means that if you're not mentally tough, then you're mentally weak. And psychologically, that's a huge detriment.
I agree.
To young wrestlers.
That's such a good point.
Like, you're like, oh, you need to be mentally tough here. And then the kid breaks, and then you're just compounding that psychological failure on them.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I've started calling it and saying it and coaching and teaching is called, you need to be mentally focused. And so when you're mentally focused, you know that you're tired. You know that this position's here. Like, you're aware of all these things, but you're not letting it get to your technique or your positioning. You're going to continue to wrestle. Being mentally unfocused doesn't hurt you as much psychologically as that word weak.
No, that's actually a really good point, because I remember thinking, like, in those positions where you lose and you're like, I'm just not mentally tough. Like, now I'm just weak. Like, that, having it be binary like that is really damaging to a young person.
For sure. And I've seen so many young kids who have a lot of promise and work really hard. Just, I think just with phrasing and framing, might have been a lot better than they could have been.
Mm-hmm.
Things just didn't break their way, or like they didn't have a coach or someone to help them out in that way. And, I've been doing this for such a long time. Like, I was definitely one of those guys when I first started out, like, you need to be mentally tough, because that's all I heard as a coach. But now that I'm getting a little bit older and I've been doing it longer, I've been able to kind of develop kind of my own philosophy and my own way of thought, and like seeing what I could get out of, like, the best I could get out of my wrestlers, where they're not just great technical wrestlers, but, they're great young men, and psychologically, they're on, some of the best footing.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, little divergence from that.
Oh, no. I mean, it's all tangential to one another.
Yeah.
And the mindset. I mean, that you see it all the time in, like, MMA fighters, like who can stay focused in tough situations, and who kind of, like, Connor kind of, like, does stay mentally, like, he loses focus occasionally when he's getting pushed into, like, those deep waters. Like,
you
see
for
that.
sure. Like, did you see the Floyd fight?
Oh yeah.
There was no reason for them to stop the fight other than him thinking, I can't go.
Right.
And so that's one of those things where it's like, all right, he's probably in his head like, oh man, here it is again. Like, that's where, like, I remember, and the reason why I thought of this, like, mentally focused things, I thought about myself. Like, I'm sure this happened to you and any competitor. There'll be times where you'll go up against the wall and, like, all right, this is where I start breaking. This is where I start having problems.
Yep.
And then that's what you're focusing on. That is what you're thinking, and you're not thinking about the match or the fight, or, if you're running distance, you're not thinking about the task at hand. And so then it's just compounding over and over and over again. And then it becomes this self-fulfilling prophecy. Like, oh, there I go again. I got tired and I lost in the third. I gave up that reversal, or, I didn't get that last kick in the mile, or, whatever. Oh, I'm down 0-2, and, I swung at a bad pitch again. All those things, it compounds. And I think just framing it differently, especially in wrestling, like, all right, you need to stay mentally focused. It allows you to kind of see, like, okay, I'm aware that this is happening to me, but I'm not going to let it affect what I'm trying to do.
No, that's a fantastic point. Like, now that I do CrossFit, there's a lot of times where we're asked to do these exercises for time or some sort of competition or whatever. And yeah, I mean, all the time I'll hit that wall that everyone knows. Like, everyone has their own wall when they hit it. Mm-hmm. And I hit that wall, and it's like, all right, this is when, like, you kind of fucking break down, and then you're like, oh well, yep, I am getting tired. Oh, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. You know what? Okay, like, this is when you always quit. Okay, yep, you're gonna quit now. Okay, now we're done. Like, it's just like, but that instead of, like, focusing on, like, okay, just do the next lift, do the next set of this workout, pick up the ball, pick up the weight, whatever. Instead of, like, just, okay, here's the next movement. Instead of thinking of that, you're like, okay, I've hit my wall.
Yep.
This is when this is when I got to go. Like, this is when I go. This is me. This is how I am. I fall apart at this point.
Yeah.
Get me to this point. And you see that all the time in in all sorts of athletic endeavors.
For sure. I think you have
especially more so individual ones, like team ones. If you have a guy that's really mentally strong on the team, he can kind of rally someone, rally the team. But when it's individual, that's when it's all on you, and it's tough to get someone like to rally.
Yeah, you can hide a lot too when you're on a
team sports. Yeah, you can hide the weak player.
Yeah, I mean, and it's one of those things. Team sports. I played baseball and soccer and all that stuff, and I just always, two things I hated more than anything in the team sports was that, one, if I did everything I possibly could and we still lost, that would fucking infuriate me. Mm-hmm. And then conversely, if I did absolutely nothing and rode the bench and we won, I would feel absolutely useless. Like, there's nothing that agitates me more than watching like the NCAA college basketball and like seeing the whole bench erupt. And I'm like, you guys did nothing. You still have your warm-ups. I don't even know if you have a jersey.
Right.
And then I guess I get the team thing, but like, I just, for me personally, it's like I would feel bad, like I didn't contribute to this. And, that was the one thing I think why I gravitated towards wrestling, where it's like, all right, as long as I take care of my shit, the team's going to be all right.
I mean, I see the benefit to both team sports is obviously crosses over to the real workplace, it's sure. Basically a team. But yeah, I mean, the individual sport, there's individual sports bring out the true self in terms of when the chips are down, for sure. Like, what kind of person are, and the thing is like, I was discussing this with Chris Sotelo, who was on my last show. We were discussing about the appeal of superheroes, right? And how like this is ideally how we would react in tough situations. But like, fact of the matter is, like, in tough situations that superheroes face, or anywhere, any situation where it could be like dire, like there's an ideal way of, okay, I would be a hero and I would do this. But I would say, like, most of the time you'd probably fuck up. Like, you'd be mentally, like, physically, or more so even just mentally, you'd be like, I can't do it. Like, I'd quit. Like, I can't. Like,
for sure.
I think
like,
you're
spot on that one.
But individual sports kind of bring that out, like that element of like, okay, this is now a tough situation. There's no one's going to bail you out. You got to get out of this.
Right.
And like, do you quit or like, do you keep going?
That's really interesting that you guys had the parallel to superheroes. I never thought of that.
Yeah, it's the same thing, right?
Yeah, like,
I mean, it's just putting yourself in that mental. I mean, physically, it's going to be tough, like but like mentally, like you get to again that wall, and then what's rewarding is, okay, maybe like you hit that wall, but you went just a little further, and like like to the outsider, they're like, he still kind of sucked. But in your head, you're like, but I went a little further. Like,
that's the name of the game. Everyone has a wall that you're going to get to, and you're never going to break through that wall. I always tell my kids, you're never going to break through that wall. You're not the Kool-Aid man. Right? Your job is to push that wall just a little bit further back. So the next time it takes you further to get there. And then eventually, right, what you're going to do is it's going to be so far back where it's not going to matter anymore. And that takes years and years and years. And a lot of, understanding who you are and psychological stuff and being on top of your game. But you're not going to just wake up one day and just be like, now I just don't get tired. Now I don't get scared.
Right.
Now I don't get, like, now I don't ever lose focus. Like, that never happens. That's unrealistic. And, I really wish more athletes talked about that, especially high level athletes. One athlete that I think does a really good job at, I think Ben Askren talks about it a lot, less in fighting and more in kind of wrestling, in the wrestling realm. I'm a big time into wrestling and fighting, so that's what I follow. So I don't know any other, like, I don't see any football players coming out and saying that. You
don't see a ton of football players, but the thing about fighters, like, I listened to Dustin Poirier. He was on Theo Vaughn's podcast.
Okay.
Right after he won the title.
Oh, that was a great fight too.
Great fight. Dustin Poirier is a hell of a, like, his journey has been amazing to watch. But he admitted, he's like, yeah, man, like, I still get fucking scared as hell to come out there and like fight. Like, I'm still scared. Like, I'm still in my head, but I just stay focused. And like, I realize this is the task at hand. and I have to go out there and I have to do like I have to stay. I just have to remember the techniques that I've been taught. Like I'm still fucking scared, and you get like a lot of. I've seen a lot of fighters, more so than like any other athletes, admit that they're scared to walk out there. Like they're scared to make that walk.
Yeah, I don't know how you could not be.
You have to be. I mean, like, and the thing, but like the thing that like I admire about it and is that they not only that they admit it, but like I think they admit it because they have nothing to prove.
Oh, for sure.
They're fighting.
For
like,
sure.
They're fighting in front of millions of people. Like this is the most badass thing you could be doing in the world right now. They're doing it.
Yeah, there's.
I mean, other than defending your country in the military, but like in terms of athletic endeavors,
yes,
this is there's nothing to prove. So I am badass, but I mean, you know what? I can then being that badass can make you admit, yes, I'm fucking scared.
Yeah, there's nothing to be vulnerable about because you showed the whole world. Like
you're as vulnerable as it gets. You're out there with another person trying to knock you out, and you're half naked in front of millions of people.
Right. That's so crazy, man. Just thinking about that, like, so right before I met did I talk about this last time? How I fought
you fought,
before.
Right? Yeah.
And so right before I met my wife, I fought, and then I was at kind of like this weird.
You won, right?
No.
Oh, you lost?
Oh yeah, you didn't.
You told that story? I forgot.
Yeah, I lost.
It ended up a loss.
Yeah, I.
Tell that again.
For those who don't know, very long story short, I'm not trained to be a fighter whatsoever. There's a pretty big gym in the Illinois Schaumburg area, and I would go in and wrestle with some of the fighters, and so I knew all those guys. And there was a promotion coming up, and I got a phone call on like a Thursday at like 11 o'clock at night, and it's one of the guys I know. He's the promoter, and he's like, "Hey, I had like 2 guys back out. I need someone to fight, or I can't do the show. Can you make weight and fight a guy tomorrow?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'll fight a guy. I don't care." And this was like when I was like 23. Stupid. Like, why would I? Looking back, I'm like, "Oh my god, there's so much that could have happened."
Right.
Oh yeah, I'll fight a guy. Yeah, sure, whatever. And so, he called them back. The fight was supposed to be at like 150, I think, or 45 maybe. I'm not sure. But anyways, it was a catch weight fight. He agreed to like move 5 pounds up or something. And I was like, yeah, I can make the weight. And I ended up I went to the gym right after that, after I hung up, and got on the scale, and I was 15 pounds over.
Oh God.
And so I had to lose 15 pounds in I think 14 hours. Or something like that, something crazy like that.
All water weight.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. So it was just working out. Like I think I worked out then, went home, slept, work out again, slept, worked out, slept, worked out, slept, rinse and repeat until I made the weight. And so I got in there and fought. And all I did was I didn't know anything. I've never trained jiu-jitsu. I've never thrown a punch in my life. All I knew how to do was wrestle. So I just took him down, and then like in the first 5 seconds, and just laid on top of him. And like nothing happened. So like I'm like throwing like little fists or whatever, like nothing damaging. But I was exhausted after that, like literally exhausted.
I mean, you had your adrenaline dump probably even before the fight.
Oh yeah,
happened.
I was exhausted.
And you were cutting all that weight, so that compounds that.
Like it was. I was
literally all the things that you could do wrong leading up to a fight.
Yeah, so I was exhausted. Second round happened, and we got in like a wild exchange. He like in that first round, like he swept me after that, and then like I tried to like triangle choke him with my legs, but I've never done it before, so he didn't have an arm in, so I was just squeezing his head with my legs, and then like I know how to scramble, so we got into a scramble. I got back on top of him, and that was like the end of the round.
Nice,
but it was like a big flurry, and people liked it. They were screaming, so it was cool. It was fun to go out there. And then the second round, I did the same thing. I just walked right up to him and shot another double leg. And I picked him up, and I didn't know at the time that when a guy like has a guillotine cinched up, you don't try to slam him.
Don't slam him, yeah.
And I did that.
Just makes it tighter.
Yeah. And so then I tapped immediately, and I was not in any danger of going out. But I just remember thinking like, I don't want like my friends and family were there. I don't want to like be unconscious.
Yeah.
I want them to be like, okay, I'm fine. Like nothing happened. It's all good.
Yeah.
And so I tapped probably way too quick.
Jeez.
And so that was the end of it. But so that was my one and only. I'm 0-1. And
was that a pro or an amateur fight?
I thought it was a pro fight, but
wow.
But they lied about my record too. They said I was like 2-0 in Iowa to get it sanctioned.
It's shady, man. These
Yeah.
fight promoters.
Yeah. So there was that. But little side story. So I'm, my day job. I'm a teacher, and there's nothing that my kids love more than to Google me.
Really?
And they love to find the fact that I'm 0-1 in MMA, and they have the guy's name, and his name's Daniel Black.
Mm-hmm.
And some of my more smart-ass students that I had, like, from the years before, on the day of the fight this year. So I taught some juniors or seniors now, and so I fought like in September or something. They came with a cake and said "Happy Daniel Black Day."
Oh,
that was
God.
the guy's name to celebrate me getting choked out.
Wow, kids are fucking mean.
I thought it was hilarious. I mean,
that's awesome.
The fact that they took the time to do that and stuff. It was.
I mean, the kids are creative for sure.
Yeah.
Give them that.
I mean, they just to needle their teacher in any ways is.
That's got to be everything for a kid.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I take it with a grain of salt. I mean, the fact that they even
it was a pro fight. It looks like I can Google you right now and I can see that your record and who you fought. Daniel Black. Yeah, Daniel Black is according to this database, the Underground. He's 13-13.
Ooh, not good.
No,
better record than
great.
Me.
Better record than you barely. I mean, if you get one win,
yeah, we're right.
You guys you're right there.
My wife used to joke around. Was like, I don't know if I can marry you 0-1. You might have to do one more. And I was like, what if I'm 0-2? She was like, you got to just keep going. I was like, yeah, that's not happy. But
at least you said you can say you did it.
Yes, that is.
And I think what helped. I mean, this is just me armchair quarterbacking, but I think it helped that you didn't have a lot of time to think about it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You literally just were like, got off the phone. Okay, I got it. Like the next thing I got to focus on is getting this weight off.
Mm-hmm. I did not know I was that much heavier. I don't think I would have agreed to it if I knew I was 15 pounds over. But I was literally right before that. I cooked pancakes for dinner because I was poor. Mm-hmm. So I had pancakes, and then I was smoking a cigar.
Did they pay you?
Yeah, they paid me. Not much.
That's good.
Just, barely anything. I would not have said yes to the same amount today.
Has people Googled you and then listened to you on our podcast? People
have, yeah. Actually, one of my bosses came up and was like, after I got hired, and he was like, I heard your podcast. And I was like, I don't know if that's good or bad.
I don't think you said anything too bad there.
No, I don't think so. I mean, but
you're promoting your book.
Yeah, I mean, I think being able to Google you, and especially when you're, kind of in the public domain is a little dicey.
Scary.
I gotta be really, really cognizant of my internet footprint.
Yeah, that's the reason why I haven't ever really put out my last name on these shows. Although, like, now that you can find me on Facebook,
right?
Like, there's a lot of like fans that are in our group they know my last name. But yeah, I don't really. I try to like keep a smaller footprint, but I mean, shit, man. There's tens of thousands of hours of my voice out there. So I was like, whatever. I mean, it is what it is. This is a passion of mine. So
yeah, you guys,
I'm just gonna enjoy
awesome.
doing
you guys
this.
Are doing a great job.
Who do you like to watch in the UFC?
Well, I'm biased towards wrestlers.
Yeah,
just in general. Like did you see the Robbie Lawler Askren fight?
I did. So Askren's got to be one of your boys.
Oh yeah, he actually did a clinic for one of the clubs I was associated with way back in the day, but unfortunately I couldn't make it there. So a lot of the guys, I think Jimmy met him. He might have been there.
Jimmy McPike
might have been there. It was around that same time when I was coaching Jimmy.
Mm-hmm.
So I like a lot of the wrestlers on.
What did you think of that fight with him and Robbie? Do you think they should have run that back?
I don't think they should run it back.
No,
I thought he was out.
Yeah, his arm did go limp. I give you that. Like his arm went like there was something up the way his arm went. I've just never seen anyone instantly react the way Robbie did.
Right
when he was out. Have you listened to Herb Dean's? He was on the Rogan podcast and he kind of went over it.
Yeah, I didn't even think about what Herb Dean was saying about that the spinal injury.
Yeah, that I was like, oh, like that. You're right. Like that is a tough choke on the spine.
You know what I think could have happened, and is a lot of times when you're in kind of those situations, Askren has a death grip. He could squeeze 2 watermelons.
I've seen that. He squeezes 2 watermelons and busts them open.
So he has it around your neck. I think there's a possibility that he has that and he's out, but he lets go because Herb rushes in. He lets go and you snap back.
That's what Ben says, is that he was out. He could feel him go out, and once he saw Herb rushing in, he just loosened it just enough so that when he finally let go, Robbie was back.
Yeah.
And if you're Robbie, I mean, if Robbie goes out for a half a second, like he's not going to know he went out half a second.
Right, for sure.
So I think it's entirely plausible that he had him out for a half second, and he came back right away.
And I think it's good just because of how explosive and crazy that fight was. I mean, Ben Askren got spiked on his head. He looked like he lost the fight. Yeah, he got spiked on his head, got bombs thrown at him, and then somehow found a way to give a guy a noogie. Like, so if you run it back, that isn't going to happen again.
No, that fight, the chances of that fight being as exciting for the minute and a half that it went, or 2 minutes, are pretty low. I mean, I respect Ben Askren's style. You're not going to get a ton of exciting fights with Ben Askren.
No, Ben Askren is like some variation of Khabib, like a less exciting version of him. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, I think maybe a little bit more technical version of Khabib. Like Khabib is like a mauler. Ben is also a mauler, but like he has that funky wrestling style where he just needs to get you, like he just needs to put his hands on you.
Yeah, and that's gotta. And he's willing to take like bombs to the face to grab you, which, God bless you, man.
Do you think how far do you think he goes in the UFC?
I think he's a bad style matchup for a lot of these guys who just want to punch him in the face.
Right.
Like Jorge Masvidal is like, I just want to like shut him
break
up.
His face, yeah.
And I think Ben does that to his advantage. Like, I think he understands, much like Connor does, the psychological aspects of it.
Yeah, if I could just get these guys this angry at me, they're gonna lose focus for just enough that I can get my hands.
And then you have to expend so much energy to try to knock someone out. Like they're not going to go in there and be technical. They're going to go in there and like, all right, he's not going to defend me, so I'm just going to swing for the fences. Well, that takes a lot of energy out of you. Extrapolate that with Ben on top of you. It's like a blanket. And now you're exhausted. And that's how you end up in bulldog chokes in 30 seconds.
The only thing I'd say is I think Ben might, like if Usman is still the champ, if Ben gets to that point, I think Usman's a tough fight for him.
Really?
Yeah, I do. I think Usman's also a really good wrestler. Marty from Nebraska.
Right, for sure.
I think he's a really good, he's not at the level of Ben Askren for sure, but you don't need to be that level in the UFC to defend takedowns.
You know who I would want to, I don't know enough about, like, I haven't seen a ton of Marty Usman other than the Woodley
Marty.
fight.
I like that you're calling him Marty now.
Yeah, well, I mean, you did, so. I haven't seen enough from Usman to, like, have he wasn't hugely on my radar, just because I don't think he had a ton of big fights. Like, they didn't push him that much.
No, they only recently started pushing him.
And so I didn't have a big... I thought his best fight that I saw with him was obviously the Woodley fight, because I'm a big Woodley fan.
He destroyed Woodley.
He made Woodley... I think he broke Woodley. Like, it was one of those things where Woodley was like, oh, this is what it's going to be. Like, I don't know.
No, I definitely agree. Like, I think he did break Woodley. Like, I think Woodley was in there, like, thinking, I'm just going to do Woodley's whole style is so Woodley also is one of those guys that's very cognizant of the fact that he gets tired.
Mm-hmm.
So he just backs up, but he's also very aware of the fact that he's got that fast twitch where he can just cover ground quickly with a huge double or a big right hand.
Right.
So he doesn't need a ton. All he needs is like one mistake and he's got you.
Right.
But yeah, Usman just put that grind on him.
So
fight.
I would like to see, like, Ben's not afraid of that.
No, Ben's definitely not afraid of the grind.
So I don't know. That would be an interesting one. The one I think that would be actually the worst matchup for Ben Askren would be Damian Maia.
Yeah, that'd be a tough
It
one.
was like, all right, Ben, you want to be taken down, and this guy wants to be taken down.
Right.
Let's see what it looks like.
And I mean, Damian Maya is one of the best
Right. I think
grapplers in the world.
I think everyone keeps putting Ben against strikers, and over again, we see what happens. He takes him down, and he either chokes him unconscious or beats him up. I would like to see if someone like wants to be where Ben wants to put him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think that's really intriguing to me. Now, I don't know if the powers that be would want that chess match because it's not, for the average viewer that doesn't sell tickets.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think that's a really interesting thing. And I think that's very similar to what you said with Usman. Like, Usman wants to do that too.
I mean, Usman wants to get in that grind with you, but he's also like very, I think he's more athletic than Ben is.
Oh, everyone is.
Actually, you're right. Everyone is more athletic than Ben Askren.
I say that in all due jest because he's an Olympian. Like,
right.
You look at him and he looks like, guy from,
he's got a dad bod going on almost.
I respect Ben a lot. I say that in jest.
But I mean, I think just Usman is just a very, and also, I mean, he's a Division II. It says, I'm looking at his stuff right now.
I think he's a national champion.
He won a national championship in Division II wrestling. So I mean, he's not too shabby.
Oh no, he's a legit wrestler for sure.
Right, and and I think he can put it together a little better in terms of striking. It'd be an interesting fight for sure.
Yeah, I think that I just don't know how many, like, if Ben beats Masvidal, then does he get Usman? Like,
I think they're going to do Usman and Colby Covington.
Yeah.
I hate Colby Covington, by the way. I don't hate him. I just really dislike the way he goes about trying to get famous.
I think he's just trolling. Like he's
that's exactly what he's doing. I just think it's so fucking cheap.
Oh yeah, it's someone who doesn't have charisma himself, so he's created an image to do it for him.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, you watch him, like, if you watch him when he's not in his, like, act, like, if he's trying to, like, even if you watch him in his act, it's so cringeworthy because you know that this isn't really this guy.
Right.
Like, you can, like, he's not like a Connor or even like a Ben Askren has created an image for himself, but you can also see, like, he's kind of a goofball, like, prick. Like, he can be a little bit of a prick. Like, he can ruffle some feathers. This is just kind of how the guy is. He's just kind of that silly dad kind of feel. Whereas Colby is just trying so hard to project this image of being this red-blooded American that throws nerds in, like, the locker room, like, throws nerds and shoves them in the toilets and stuff like that. And it's just like, but you're not that guy,
right? Like,
you really are just a quiet dude that wants to, like, fight,
right, for sure.
I don't know. It just rubs me the wrong way.
You know what?
I hate inauthenticity.
Yeah, I mean, he oozes that.
Yeah, and it comes out of him so much.
And I saw him actually. I think I saw him fight. Yeah, I did see him fight when he was at the United Center, where he beat, where he got.
Oh, you went to that one?
Yeah, where he got his interim belt.
Mm-hmm.
When he beat Dos
Anjos. Yeah.
I mean, he knows how to fight. I mean, he's not a bad fighter.
No, he's good.
Yeah.
Like, his fighting could speak for itself, but I mean, props to him. He has created enough of a noise around him where people talk about him. I mean, I wouldn't be talking about him otherwise.
I think it's like the Chael Sonnen, Conor McGregor effect. Like,
but that's the thing. Chael Sonnen was also, like, his shit was funny. Like, I found it entertaining because he legitimately has charisma. Well, so he could pull it off.
Yeah, I mean, all of that, what Chael's doing is all fabricated as well.
Oh, yeah.
But he had, I think, a little bit more decorum in where
he did.
And he also knew, I think he has a little bit better sense of humor.
Yes, 100%. Like, he could straddle a line a lot better than, like, for instance, the two things that always make me laugh. Like, Chael would make fun of Brazilians too. Like, he'd make fun of the fact he would poke fun at being like the Brazilians because he had that rivalry with Anderson. Whereas, like, Colby, like, goes into Brazil and goes, "This place is a dump. All you guys are filthy rats."
Yeah,
right?
and there's nothing funny about it.
There's nothing funny about that, right? Like, it's just like, dude, this is stupid. Whereas Chael, I always remember he tells this story where he's like, I heard a story that the Nogueira brothers, when they first came to America one time, they got out of the airport or something. I'm, like, paraphrasing. He's like, they got out of the airport and a bus pulls up, and Antonio looks at the bus and notices this bus, and all of a sudden he digs into his his bag and he pulls out a carrot and he starts giving the carrot to the bus. This man hadn't seen buses before. He was trying to feed a carrot to this bus.
Right. Like that's funny.
Like that's kind of funny.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, it is kind of backwoods. Like got a tinge of like, oh, but it's also like that's that funny. The guy's feeding a carrot to the bus.
Like there's a line there, and he kind of goes right up to it.
Right.
Where Kobe's just like, I'm just gonna go.
Yeah, Colby's just like, oh, I'm gonna wear this MAGA hat and I'm gonna just incense people just because this is what, like, I'm gonna post on Twitter the spoilers to Star Wars and Infinity War. I was like, dude, you're just trying too hard, man. Stop. Just stop.
Yeah, I really think he just saw like the Sonnen or the McGregor blueprint.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And he was like, I can't do that, so let me just go as far into that direction as possible.
Yeah, let me just lean so far into it that I'm just like everyone's just gonna. I had something that I have to be talked about because I'm saying the most absurd shit.
Right.
And then, you should watch some of his videos. He like will hire these like D grade models and be like taking showers with them, and like, hey, I'm gonna fuck this girl now, or whatever. Yeah.
I don't pay enough attention to Kobe coming in. Like I think
I shouldn't be paying attention to him, but
he's dragged you in, man. He got you. You got got.
Are you going to go to the next UFC here in Chicago?
I'm actually not. I'm actually going to be fishing that weekend, but I'm actually going to go to the Bellator one.
Oh yeah, the Bellator one. Yeah, hit me up. I might be at the Bellator.
Oh, nice. Sure, yeah. I'd love to meet up.
Yeah, I'll be at the Bellator one. Bellator's. I've been to. Actually, I haven't been to Bellator yet. Went to the couple of Strikeforce ones that were in Chicago.
Oh, nice.
But I mean, they're all fun.
Yeah, that was the first UFC I've ever been to. Was the one in the United Center last year.
Oh yeah. How would you think of it?
I liked it a lot. I didn't realize the crowd it was going to like draw.
What do you mean by that?
A lot of drunken meatheads.
Yep. You know, and a lot of idiots.
Yeah, I was gonna say idiots, but and it was like I got 2 beers poured on me from guys just being dumb.
Oh man, that sucks.
And it's just one of those things where it's like, okay, like I get it, like this is like uber testosterone, like to the max, but don't be rude. So like there was that, but besides that, I thought like our tickets were okay, and the fighting was great. Like it was a cool experience. I would love to see one in Vegas. I couldn't imagine what.
Oh, like. So I've been to probably 9 or 10 of these.
Oh,
maybe
wow.
More. I've been to 4 in Vegas.
I'm sure those are just madness.
They're awesome. I mean, but you still do get. I remember I went to one with my mom. And some drunk idiot spilled beer on my mom.
Oh man,
that she was not happy. She had him kicked out. But I mean, it's the same type of crowd. The Vegas ones are interesting because you get these people that are really glammed up and go there, and then you get like the drunk meatheads, and then you get like nerdy dudes too. You get like a comic book convention crowd too. That like there's a subsect that like really is nerdy and loves MMA.
Yeah.
So it's just like weird mix. I always enjoy the events live. Did you end up going and seeing like the first fight?
Yeah, I mean, we were there from like the get-go.
I was gonna say, so that's the thing you don't realize about these fights is they go like 7 hours.
Yeah, they're long.
You're there all day. You get there like the prelims start at 3, and then you're probably there till 10, 11, 12 o'clock.
Yeah, it's a long, and I don't remember when they stopped serving booze. That's another problem.
Yeah, they just serve booze the entire time. It's a weird mix of sport and meathead testosterone.
Yeah, I was not prepared because like everyone that I watch MMA with is like me, mm-hmm. right? Like either my wrestling fans or like my brother-in-law, or just like sports fans or fight fans that aren't like too over the top meatheadish, and like to see like legit hardcore like. Just idiots.
Dummies. Yeah. I was saying, just big giant dummies.
I was really taken aback by it.
Yeah. I mean, that's who this trash talk culture really appeals to is like that. Sure. That I mean, and I can't be above it. I actually do enjoy the trash talk occasionally. Like when Conor McGregor's funny as shit. But I agree. Like his trash talk lately with Khabib's been a little too much, mm-hmm. a bit over the line. But like when you have 2 guys, for instance, John Jones and Daniel Cormier, you've seen their fights,
Oh,
right?
man.
But you can tell that they genuinely just do not like each other. And the reason they don't like each other, and a big part of why they don't like each other, is both of them want to be the best.
Oh, yeah. And
So like that appeals to me.
What John Jones said to Daniel Cormier before their second fight, you could just, when he says, yeah, and I beat you after doing cocaine, or like whatever, like however he said it.
Yep.
When you see Cormier hear that, you see part of his soul get snatched from him.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, I'm living the right way, and this guy's an asshole, and he's so better than me. Like, there was just something so cold-blooded about that.
Oh, whenever they interact, like around anyone else, Cormier is like, he talks a little trash, but he's pretty respectful. He's pretty much like above it. For whatever reason, John Jones will just say one thing, and Cormier, you can see, like, Cormier gets so mad that he just wants to say the meanest fucking thing to him back. Like he would. I remember that was that same conference. He's like, "What are you gonna do now? Like, how are you gonna fuck up again? Are you gonna sandblast prostitutes?" And John Jones was like, "What the fuck?" And the Cormier even drops the N-word on him. And Cormier is like, Jones like, really, like they're like it's just what like. It reminds me of when you get so blood red angry at someone that you just say the meanest thing that comes to your mind first. That's exactly what and John Jones like always is like a little like he's always like not as emotionally invested as Cormier is.
Right.
So like it's just like you can just tell he's just poking him.
Well, I thought that second fight too. Well, the first fight a little bit, but the second fight for sure. I thought Cormier was just mentally. John Jones had the edge on him.
You think so?
Just like psychologically, mentally, like it means more for Daniel Cormier to beat John Jones than John Jones.
Yeah,
to beat
that I'll agree with. I would say that second fight, I actually was impressed with Cormier. I thought he was really in that fight. I think just Jones was just better.
So here's something that I think is really interesting about John Jones that no one really talks a lot about, and I had a lot of time. I've been thinking about it a lot lately. So John Jones told Daniel Cormier exactly how he was going to finish him, that he was going to kick him in the head with a left head kick, right? And he did that. And all of John Jones' fights are very, like he has almost like a perfect game plan, and he really systematically beats guys down, right? He takes away their best
He breaks he breaks you down.
The one fight we didn't see that was the OSP fight. And I think that fight in particular shows what John Jones is the best at and why he's better than everyone. I think he has an uncanny ability to process information in patterns and then implement it in real time. And because he had no data on OSP, he looked the way he did.
That's a great point. I think there's a couple things. I think John, like you said, that's a fantastic point. I think John Jones, him and his team are like the way they all work together in his mind. I think he's the best at, like you said, mentally process everything and putting it into real time execution. Like, I think he's the best at game planning for sure,
without a doubt, hands down. I mean, we watch any of his fights, like he just does things that you would never expect, and it's
right.
And it's almost like he just knows he knows that person better than they know themselves.
Yeah, exactly. Like he's great at game planning. His physical gifts, I mean, he's 6'4" and has an 84-inch reach or whatever that,
right.
He's just physically very, very gifted in comparison to all the other fighters in his division. But I think along with those two things, and we were talking about, hitting that wall and, in that first, did you see him fight Gustafsson the first time?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He was mentally put in a place where a lot of people would break, like you're the favorite and all of a sudden this guy takes you down in the first round,
right.
And he's busting you up on the feet. But I think what makes John Jones so great is the fact that he's mentally he stays focused.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't wither. Like when things get tough, he just goes back to, okay, like this is the plan, this is the game plan, this is what I have to do, these are the adjustments I have to make. He's always there mentally in the fight. Like he doesn't get tired. Which
I think bring this full circle back to the Adesanya fight. I think that's what he showed, why he's probably that next great fighter in that Gastelum fight, because he hit some big adversity. And like to come out in that 5th round, and because I thought personally that it was anyone's fight going into the 5th round.
I would agree. Yeah.
And whoever won that 5th round was probably going to win the fight. And not only did he win the 5th round, but he put like a stamp on it.
Yeah, he did.
And I think
he also has the same ability as John in that he can adjust on the fly very quickly and make those reads and then execute it.
Yeah, he's a little bit more raw than John.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't have the wrestling background, and I'm not saying wrestling.
No, he definitely doesn't have.
He doesn't have that wrestling background,
but he has a much better striking background.
That was literally what I was going to say. Now.
Oh, sorry, sorry to steal your thunder.
No. I think that's great because we're seeing the same thing. You know,
right?
It's
like he's got levels of kickboxing in his background that John's never had.
Yeah. But John, one thing, going back to what John does, John is willing to improvise, like do things that aren't actual like traditional technique,
right?
Whereas Adesanya is a little bit more fundamental or technical.
He's fun. Yeah, he'll try some things, but it's all within his level of technique.
I think the way Gastelum fought him really threw him off those first few rounds.
Oh, well, Gastelum came out. So since seeing as you're a big MMA fan, I'll recommend a podcast to you if you're not already listening to it. Heavy Hands podcast.
Okay, I'm not listening to it.
So they do a fantastic. It comes out every Wednesday, and they break down fights. They don't talk about like the trash talk, or they literally just break down the fight for what it is, what the style matchup is, what's going to work, what might not work, and then analyze. Break it down before, and then talk about it after. So that's a really good podcast. But so that's where I get a lot of my knowledge because they're super smart guys. But what Gastelum did really well was he just kind of came out and he showed just a little bit of a different look to Adesanya. Like Gastelum is a pretty rote striker. He's basically just, as they described him on the podcast, he's just basically got a really quick 1-2, like really fast hands, and he's fucking tough. But
that takes you far.
Which takes you really far. I mean, it takes you to a interim title shot. But what he did to Adesanya that kind of threw him off is he just showed like a little bit, some technique that he hadn't shown in previous fights. Like he just made a couple adjustments that Adesanya was like, oh, what the fuck? Like, this isn't the guy I've been studying for, 15 fights. This is some, however many fights Gastelum's had.
Yeah, that's
so that. I mean, and then that along with being just fucking like a little bit unconventional, like not being like this classically trained kickboxer, kind of just threw Adesanya off.
Yeah, I was also really interested why Gastelum didn't rely on his takedowns more or his grappling.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he tried it a little bit. I just don't think. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know why he doesn't use his wrestling a little more.
It was interesting to me in that fight, particularly because I thought that was one area where Adesanya had a question mark.
I mean, he still has that question mark for sure. I think he can be taken down.
He triangled him too, didn't he, Adesanya?
That's the thing, though. Is Adesanya like that's the thing? Is Adesanya is such a quick learner already? Like he almost triangled Gastelum, and now he had him in a guillotine, like in 1.2. So it's like, oh man, this guy's. You give Adesanya another year or two of training, and like, oh god, where's he gonna be?
I think the scariest person for him is Yoel Romero.
Oh man, I mean, Yoel Romero is a fucking freak of nature.
I was there when he fought Whitaker, and
I thought he won that fight too.
And I think if he made weight, if it wasn't like a exhibition match technically, I think he gets the nod.
Yeah, I mean, I think that has to be a factor if you're a judge. You're like, but this guy fucking missed weight, and if he wins, this is going to fuck up this entire thing.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I thought he beat Whitaker. I
thought so, too. I mean, I thought Whitaker, it was one of the best fights I've ever seen.
Another great fight, for sure.
But, I mean, that's a hell of a first fight to see live.
Yeah, it was awesome.
A main event to see live. But I thought Whitaker did a really good job of just staying in the fight and, like, being there and, like, accumulating damage on Yoel, but I mean, if you look at like he rocked Whitaker 3 times, I think in that if you this, I agree. I understand this is a sport, but as Rogan puts it, this is also the sport of fighting. And if you have 2 guys in there and one guy almost puts the other guy out 2 or 3 times,
that has to be more.
That has to be worth more. Like the guy was almost out.
Well, I mean, like take it for like back to wrestling. It's like if I if you just escape from me and get 1 point, it's not worth as much as me taking you down. Right. And so like, I should win because it's worth more. Like what I'm doing is harder to do. And it causes, in MMA, it causes more damage. I mean,
I would equate it almost to like in wrestling, like the guy's winning on points.
Right. For sure.
Right. And then in the third round? What do they call it again?
Third period.
Right. Third period, 20, 30 seconds left. I'm winning on points, but I get fucking tired and this guy almost pins me.
Right.
It's like, yeah, I won on points, but if this would have, like, this guy had me. Right. Like, I can concede to the fact that he probably had me. Right. If I just like rode out the clock basically.
Yeah. Time saved me. Not
me. Yeah. Time. Yeah. Right.
So I think Yoel Romero would be a tough task for Adesanya. I don't know.
It'd be a good fight to see.
Because I think he has that type of like, but again, Yoel tires out too. I mean, that takes a lot of energy to. Well,
that's why he fights the way he fights. He's one of those guys that he's like Woodley, where so there's parts when you're watching Yoel Romero and you're like, he's like fighting in slow motion. Like he'll like do these like, he'll like stick his hand out there, like faint really slowly, and then you're like, what? And then he lulls you to sleep, and then all of a sudden he like explodes on you and like hits you with a double leg or puts you out with a punch. I mean, he's got that Olympic level talent. I mean, he's a super athlete.
That's one of those things that's got to be just awful to game plan. You're like, oh, I don't know what everyone's so afraid of. You're in there, and next thing you know, you get a flying knee to the face.
Yeah, Yoel's a freak, man. I mean, he like I mentioned, he's a Olympic caliber. I mean, the Cuban wrestling program's insane.
Yeah, I got to see a lot of them up close and personal. I went to the Wrestling World Cup last year when it was in University of Iowa, and where we were staying, the hotel that was where the Cubans and the Mongolian team were staying. And just seeing some of those guys up close and personal. I'm like,
the Cubans?
Yeah, I'm like, we're just different. Like, you guys are just got better everything. Like, you guys are
better
huge.
Genetics.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like they take Cuba, for whatever reason, they take wrestling really seriously in Cuba.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And they just out of the womb. First off, I think those kids just have like amazing genetics for some reason.
That's what Yoel Romero was saying. He's like, just come to Cuba, look around.
There's a million people look. But then I think they're, with the way Castro is running their sports, I think they just were bred to fucking, this was what they were going to do.
Yeah. I mean, it was really interesting. Very nice people, very, very cordial. They were cool. Just like if I said hi or wanted, a picture or something, they were cool with it. So it was awesome.
You can always tell like someone that's wrestled just by like shaking their hand. You're like, oh, like this is a different kind of grip that someone has.
It's funny you say that. Like you always, when I was like going out to the bars a lot in Chicago, it's like you always got to do like an ear check before you like want to get into any confrontation.
Right.
I don't really. Oh, this guy's got a little cauliflower here.
Yeah, if this guy's a little cauliflower, I'm gonna stay away from him. He might be a fucking tough son of a bitch.
Yeah. So that's that was something that I would always joke around about.
Are you watching Game of Thrones? Are you a Game of Thrones fan?
I am.
It's on right now.
Yeah, I have it on
DVR.
No, I have like HBO Now or whatever. So I'll just
pop it on after.
I'll just hit the time to go.
Do you have to watch that? Does your wife watch it with you?
My wife does not.
So you're solo on that.
Yeah, she tried to watch it and she didn't like the first like 2 or 3 episodes, so she just checked out. And I just kept going.
Too much blood?
No. I think the first
too many boobies.
No, I think the first 2 episodes are kind of slow, like in the season.
I was going to say actually the first season in general, like people that I've talked to that have tried to get into it that are like, I quit after that first season. I'm like, just watch the entire first season. I know it's going to be rough, but it gets really good.
Like the good parts are because of all of that labor.
Right.
Like all that foundation that they pull. Almost like, so I'm assuming you're caught up.
Oh yeah. So like after me and you are done, I'm gonna throw on Game of Thrones.
Oh nice. So like that, even that first episode of this newest season was a little slow, but they're doing the same. Like I think that's kind of their method. What they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So it was good. I'm just interested to see kind of what happens. It's only 6 episodes, right? This season.
Yeah, it's only 6 episodes.
So they got to start moving pretty fast here.
Every episode's going to count.
Yeah.
Not that they don't ever count before, but this one especially.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, if you got to go, we can wrap this up.
No, I don't got to go. I mean, but we'd probably have like another 5-10 minutes here.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you wanted to plug before we go, or anything like you want to?
Yeah, I want to plug my Kickstarter.
Yeah,
for sure. Want everyone to come and check that out. It's a supernatural horror thriller about a guy.
Man of Sin.
Yeah, Man of Sin, where a guy, everyday guy, just tries to find the truth about his murdered son, and finding out how deep this loss will take him is kind of gets him into some sticky situations and gets him into some supernatural things. And it's a fun, good ride if you're into horror, good ride if you're into thrillers, some mystery. And if you're into awesome art, it's a must read.
I would wholeheartedly. I've read both issues. It's a lot of fun. I mean, it is dark for sure.
Yes.
And it helped them. The mood is definitely enhanced by the fact that you have a great artist who captures that like surreal darkness to what you're writing.
You know what? We never had an actual conversation about this. Like, this is how good Camillo is. Is that he understands the tone of the book, of every single like kind of page turn and every sequence. And so he colors it and paints it and draws it for that tone. And like, he understands something that like, we never had an actual conversation about this, but in the comic medium for horror, there's nothing that he can draw that's going to scare you. There's nothing that I can write that's going to scare you, really, right? It could be something grotesque and makes you not want to look at it, but it's not going to scare you. What I think Camillo does really well is that he draws you in with the colors and where it affects you emotionally. And one thing that, I really appreciate with him that he's done with my writing is that he's really amplified that, because that's what I knew right away. There was nothing I could show or do that would scare you. I'd have to get into you, scare you psychologically, or write something that kind of sticks with you. It's kind of sticky. Someone said that about my book. Your book is sticky. It sticks with me. And that was something that I think I tried to do, and Camillo's just enhanced a million times because he's such a professional.
Yeah, he's awesome. I mean, the fact that you guys have never even met too, that's crazy.
It's pretty crazy. There are some things, like, he's so talented. There are some things that I'll put down on paper. Look, like, English isn't even his first language. And so there are things that I write that he just literally plucks out exactly from my head and then makes it 100 times better. Like, I don't even know how he does it. It's incredible.
You're lucky to have found someone that can work with you that way.
Yeah, it was. I feel very lucky. So big shout out to Camillo if he's listening.
Yeah, and definitely. When is that Kickstarter happening?
So I wanted to launch it on the 25th, but we're a little
of April. Okay.
Of April, but we're a little bit behind. I've actually just on my end, just kind of like, I haven't been as productive as I need to with this neck injury, and so it's either the 25th or it's going to be like the next week, that next Thursday, maybe the 1st, so like either the last week in April. I could send it to you. I wish I had a hard date, but I don't think I'm going to be ready on the 25th.
Got it. So sometime after the 25th.
For sure, yes. 25th yes. Or the first week in March or May.
First week in May.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And anything social media wise, blog, anything else you want to plug?
Yeah. If you want to go to aguilde.com and sign up for my newsletters, I write kind of long form blog posts about writing, creativity, the writing process myself. And it's just a good way to stay informed about kind of my creative projects like Man of Sin, or if you just want to just read just some things that from my short time in the creative field, like my Lessons Learned blog, where I go into depth about my 2 years I worked with that literary manager and kind of the things that I learned and what other people who might just be starting out on their journey might want to learn.
Great. Yeah, man, I think this was good. We can wrap it up here and both of us can watch Game of Thrones. I appreciate you reaching out because you were on my list, and by you reaching out, it made me have to do less work in terms of finding someone to talk to for a couple hours.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. You know, I've been a fan of your show since before I went on.
I appreciate that. I don't know why anyone is, but it's always nice to hear that.
Did I tell you how I found you guys? Like, it just popped up. It just popped up on my iTunes, something you would like.
Really?
Like, it just literally randomly popped up. And the first one was, I think it's your friend who was a hip hop artist.
Eddie Pack One.
I think that was the first one. And then there was some guy, it was a comic book artist from Chicago.
Okay.
I think he was either doing it, I don't know if he was doing a Kickstarter or he was self-publishing his book.
Scott Larson, maybe?
I think that was that one of them. And so it was just in my wheelhouse of things that I like. And so I reached out to you guys, and it just happened that, I was putting the Kickstarter together, and it worked out. The
timing worked, and we were cool enough to let you on. No, I'm just kidding. You were cool enough to reach out.
No,
I mean, like, hell yeah, we'll have a guest on.
I thought it was awesome that you guys, were so welcoming. I had a blast.
Yeah, man.
Just like now, it was awesome.
Cool, man. Yeah, I mean, you're always welcome to come on either show. So
yeah, it just happened. Obviously, I know Jimmy McPike, and
did you know Jimmy like that though?
No, I did not know Jimmy. Jimmy's history, knowledge is. I mean, I was blown away. I'm really proud of him. I'm really, really proud of Jimmy as a young man.
He's grown, and yeah, I mean, I remember meeting him because of you. He was originally on our show because he heard you. I remember meeting him maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and then seeing him, back again as a 25-year-old out of the military. I was like, oh man, he was a man back then, but he's more of a man now.
Yeah,
he's really come into his own.
I'm really happy for him. Really proud of him. It's awesome. It's funny that he likes to go to Flash Taco. I hated Flash Taco. Of all the taco places that he could go to, that's the one. But
Jimmy, if you're listening, Andrew Guilde does not approve of Flash Taco.
You know what? I told him that too when I was coaching him. We would have team nights, and we'd go to laser tag, and they were like, "You got to go to this Flash Taco place. It's awesome." And I'm like, "Kids, are you serious right now? There's literally so many other taco places around here that you can get an actually good taco." And that's the one. And he's still going to it. But other than that, Jimmy, I think I was floored by his knowledge, his depth of knowledge. I thought he had a really interesting worldview that I was proud that he's kind of coming into his own and thinking for himself. I think that's awesome.
As someone that was once 25,
right?
Looking at him and being like, man, he's just very well, he knows what he's talking about. He can defend his worldview, and he can defend it eloquently, and he can speak to things. And I was thinking back to when I was like, even now I'm like, I don't know what the fuck my worldview is sometimes, and I can't speak with the depth of knowledge about the why I feel the way I feel like he can. I'm like that. He's very impressive.
Yes, I second that. It's funny. I was probably his age when I started coaching him, so to see him,
grow into the person he's become.
Yeah, it's really awesome. It was really awesome to see, and I've been wanting to when I saw the spin-off shows, I've been able to listen to a lot of them. When I saw when I saw that he was on, I immediately listened, obviously, because I know him, and so I had to reach out again. So I'm just happy that you had some time and we could sit here and chit chat.
Definitely. Here, I'm going to stop the recording right here. Thanks again, man.
Yeah, no problem.